Hey guys, Troy at Mountain Man Treasure here, and I apologize because it's been really quiet on this channel in the last, well, it's probably been about a week, hasn't it? It's been a while. And I want to apologize to you for that because I know we've got not a lot of subscribers, but we've got some. I think we're at 92 right now, which we're up to like 94 or 95 and we lost a couple. So we're going the wrong way, but you know what? I don't blame you. I understand. It's to some extent a pretty saturated market when it comes to reseller videos, right? So you got to set yourself apart. You got to show some value, and I haven't done that in the last little bit, so I apologize. I'm still just trying to find a balance, right? Because we do this part time. I sell part time out of my home, out of my garage. My wife, my daughter help me at times, but primarily I'm the one out there searching and storing and packing and doing all that sort of thing. And so it becomes a little bit of just trying to find a balance between work and life and eBay, and now we're trying to add YouTube in there. And so I'm just trying to find a balance, find a way to streamline everything, make it work. And I promise we're going to do better. We're going to get you something. I've got some ideas to make videos, and I just haven't been getting them done. So I am going to get you some videos. We are going to share some information because we're just about a year in. Right about mid-January is going to be our 1-year anniversary, and I've learned a lot over this year, and I want to share that. And that's why why I'm doing these, is to kind of give back a little bit, share some of what I've learned. And I know there's somebody else in January that's going to start doing this, and hopefully they can find these videos, and hopefully some of them teach them something. Yeah, so that's what's going on right now. I think the wave of Christmas is over now. You know, we're hitting deadlines. It's Wednesday, what is it? It's the 18th today. So we're pretty much past the deadlines where you can safely get something for Christmas. I think people have pretty much figured that out a couple weeks ago, along with some help from Dominic, the primetime treasure hunter over at the Reselling Resource Center. It's a Facebook group. You want to check that out. There's fantastic people in there, lots of knowledge about every area of reselling in there. So go check that out on Facebook. But with their help, a couple weeks ago, we hit 42 packages, which was a record for a weekend. And then this last weekend, actually, we hit 35 just with natural sales, which is the best just plain normal weekend that we've had. So yes, 70 plus items going out when you combine the last 2 weekends. It's been very, very busy, and it's been busy through the week too, but you know what, things are starting to slow down. We only had 5 or 6, I think, on Monday. Yesterday I sent out 7. I think I've only got 3 so far today. So things definitely slowing down, but from what I understand, they're going to start picking back up again. They're going to slow down through Christmas, and then people are going to get gift cards. People are going to have mad money. They're going to want to spend. Now they're not buying for other people. They're going to buy for themselves. So I think this is when you're going to get some of those collectibles, some of those higher end things. They're going to start going because people are buying for themselves now. So expect a little mini wave in January, at least from what I understand. So like I said, we started last January. I think our first sale was right near the end of January. So almost on the 1-year anniversary, and now I almost have an idea of how these things flow, what the market looks like. But I think things are going to start to slow down, which is a good thing in the sense that it'll give me a little bit more time to sort through the inventory, streamline the process a little bit better, clean up the area back there. It's a disaster, if I'm honest. Very good at finding the stuff, not very good at keeping the stuff clean. It's an organized mess. I know where the stuff is. It's just starting to close in on me. So we've got some ideas to streamline that process, to make things a little bit easier, and that's going to be coming in the new year. So I'm very excited about that. What? Yeah, the dog wants out. Hold on, guys. Okay, we're back. Like the dog, the phone doesn't ring all day, and then we're recording this thing, and the phone rings. So, situation for you. Here this last weekend, went over with a buddy of mine to an estate sale. I didn't really have any cash on me at the time, but it was right down the road, and so we went over and we checked it out. He got a couple of cool things there. We were walking around. It was a little bit later in the day, so it had been going, and really the only show in town. So any of the resellers had probably already been there. They'd already scoured through. They'd already picked up things they wanted. So now it's about finding the stuff that they missed. We went through, and there wasn't a ton at this sale, at least not inside. But she says, you know what? We do have some stuff in the garage. So I looked in the garage, and it turned out they had some vinyls out there. Now, none of the vinyls were all that fantastic. But there was a couple of Hawaiian vinyls in there, Hawaiian music, and sometimes those do okay. I didn't look them up, asked her how much she wanted for them, and she said, how about $1 for the two? Now, I probably lost that dollar. The two, once I looked them up, they're not great. But you know what? She said, you know what, we do have other stuff out back in the shed, little outbuilding back there. And so I thought, you know what, let's get the ball rolling. We'll buy something and we'll see what happens. Well, so we get that, and we went back to this outbuilding, and you walk in the door, and immediately the very first thing that you see when you walk in the doors are model trains, or HO scale trains, not model trains, but train cars, boxes of lots of track, lots of partially built buildings, that sort of thing. Now there was some other stuff in there too. There was the typical garage stuff, right? But I was interested in the train stuff. I've sold some train stuff before. I know how well it can do, and so I was looking at some of it. I'm by no means an expert in trains. I look at some and think, wow, that thing looks neat. You look it up and it's not selling, and people have it listed for $5. I don't get the intricacies of that hobby just yet. I'm working on it. I'm learning. But the sheer volume of what was there was what had me wondering. So the first thing, like I said, we had bought something already. You kind of showed them that you're willing to spend, even if it was $1. You talk with them. You find out what they're doing. You find out how sales are going. You make friends with them. This is important because you're potentially dealing with them later on. You're making another deal. You want to be friendly, right? So we're already friendly with these folks. Now, I sort of struck up a conversation of how did you get all of this stuff? Well, it turns out their grandfather had passed several months ago. They've already sold the property, and now they got to get rid of all the stuff. They'd hired a professional company to come in and do this, but then the husband's wife got sick, and they weren't able to come in and do the sale. So all of a sudden now the family is trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this sale? And it's a little overwhelming for them. It's a pretty large property. There's lots of large farm implements. There's lots of knickknacks. There's all sorts of stuff. This guy lived there since the 80s, I believe. So a lot of stuff to try to move. So that gives you some insight, right? You know it's a family-run thing. You know the property's sold. They have to get rid of this stuff. So that's the impetus, right? They're not trying to get the most money they can out of a lot of this stuff. They're trying to get a fair value, and they're trying to move it. So I talked with the guy. His name was Chase. Ask for their names. These are people, right? So got his name. His name was Chase. Told him, you know what? I am not interested today, but I am interested in a lot of these train cars you have. What I'm thinking is I would like to come back tomorrow, and maybe we can do some sort of deal with what you've got left. I'll give you a chance to sell through the rest of the day and through a good chunk of tomorrow, and then if I come back near the end and you've still got a bunch left, maybe we can swing a deal. And he quickly said, yeah, we could do that. Which brings another point. Have business cards, right? This is ours we made up. We just, I got it done on, I don't know if that's in, there we go. Had it done on Fiverr, Fiverr, something else I learned from Dominic. Really cool company, very inexpensive. You get online, you can find a graphic designer to make you a logo, and then you can put that logo on whatever you want. So got a logo done for very, very cheap. It was $7 to build this logo from scratch. I kind of told them what I was looking for, and they produced it in a couple of days. It was really cool. And then we got on Instaprint, and I ordered a whole bunch of business cards for, I don't remember what it was. It came with shipping. It was less than $20. I don't, it was like 15, 20 bucks, something like that. And we got a whole stack of them. And these are things, sometimes I put them in the stuff that we send out, especially collectible. So you want people to remember, or something that's replenishable so that people remember and maybe come back. But ideally what I got these for is to hand out at sales. It's one thing to say, hey, do you have a scrap of paper? Let me write a name and number on it. But you can hand out these business cards. That's something they'll hang on to. That's something they'll remember. And he did. I came back on Saturday, went back about 2 o'clock. The sale went until 4. Came back Saturday at it was right at 2 o'clock. My daughter had to be somewhere. We had to leave at 3. And so I didn't have a lot of time to stand around. So went in, looked around, and honestly, a lot of the stuff that was there the day before was still there. I found out it had been a pretty slow day. They were hoping it was going to be a little bit busier. And so I waited. Chase was busy talking with some other folks. And when he was free, came back around. So I waited. Chase was talking with some folks. He was free, came back around, and he remembered. He says, Troy, right? I said, yeah. So we went over. We were looking at the trains. He said, what are you thinking? Now, you don't want to be the first one to throw out a number because you can't come back from that, right? So let it be uncomfortable. Wait and say, you know what? I don't know. What do you think? I told him, I want to be fair. What do you think? What's a fair price? Now, I counted really quickly. Wasn't exhaustive with it, but I counted, and I stopped counting around 48.50. There were a few more than that, but the ballpark was 50. So I told him, I said, you know what? I counted about 4 dozen, probably a little bit more. What do you think? Now, on Friday, they were charging $4 a piece. They were willing to deal, but they were looking for $4 a piece for the cars. So I knew that going in, and so I said, you know what? You give me a price. And he immediately said, well, not immediately. He thought about it for a little bit, and he says, what about $100? Is that fair? And then very quickly he said, I don't know, 75? So very quickly you could tell he was ready to deal because he jumped on his own $25 down. And I'd only brought 50 bucks with me. Honestly, I thought there were going to be fewer cars left. So I thought it was going to be a little bit easier to deal with. But I just came right out and said, look, I'm interested. I talked with him about it the day before, and I said, remember, I'm interested in these in terms of resale. I'm not a collector. Maybe 1 or 2 will stick around because I like them, but in general, these are for reselling. So I have to think about and then explain to them, because people don't know, right? They don't understand what it is that we're doing. I said, I'm going to have to take these and clean them all up. They've been sitting in a barn, so they're dusty, right? So many of them, I've got to clean them up. I'm going to have to photograph them. I'm going to have to then make a listing for them. When they sell, I'm going to have to ship them. Now, I'm also going to have to pay fees for eBay. I'm going to have to pay fees for PayPal. And many of these are not high-end cars. These are pretty basic cars. Some of them are pretty nice. I've just started going through them. I've got some of them listed. Some of them are nice. Some of them are desirable. But many, as I told him, a lot of these were mass-produced. And so they're going to sit around for a long time. And I've got to think about that as well. So I was just straight out honest with him. I said, look, I can do 50 bucks. That's where I'm comfortable. Now, I told him, I understand if that doesn't work for you, and I want to be fair to you. I'm not trying to rob you here. I want to be fair, but that's where I feel comfortable at for this because of how long a lot of these are going to sit. So he kind of stepped away. He went and talked with some of his relatives and came back and sort of talked about, now, are you interested in the track or the cars? Now, I've sold track before, and track can sell. This was pretty weathered. And there was money there, but honestly, what I had to spend, because I do have a lot of inventory already, was $50, and I knew that was pushing it for the cars for him. And so I didn't want to deal with the track. So I said, you know what? No, I'll just look at the cars today. He's got my card. We can talk later if he wants to get rid of the track. I said, I'm just looking at the cars. And then I gave him the option. I said, you know what? If there are some here that are important to you or that you think are more valuable that you'd like to hang on to, I'm very open to you pulling those out. And then we can talk price at that point. If you want to pull some out, I'm okay with that. He went away and he talked again, came back and was kind of was thinking about it. And I offered again, saying, you know what, if you want to pull some out, I totally understand. I want to be fair. I didn't want him to think that I was forcing him into this, because they are his grandfather's things. We got to remember that there is an emotional attachment to some of this stuff. I mean, he grew up knowing that his grandfather collected these, and that his grandfather was starting to get into his granddad was into a lot of different things. He bounced from hobby to hobby, he told me. But for a fair amount of time, he was really getting into this. He built a board to run it on and all that sort of thing. You got to remember there is an attachment. There are memories attached to some of these things. And he was picking them up. He was looking at them. And that's why, just not even business-wise. I just wanted to, if there's one car, if there's two cars he wants to hang on to just to have, I'm perfectly fine with that. And he said, you know what? No, it's time to let him go. I'm good with that. Let's do $50. So I started loading. He said, here, there's some boxes. Go ahead and load them up. So I loaded them up. I filled 2 big boxes full of train cars. Now, I'm going to flash up, I think over here, if I figured this thing out right, I'm going to flash up. The first night I got listed 9 of these, I believe. And in a day, we sold 2 of them. I took an offer of $10 on one I had up for 12 and change plus shipping. And then one sold for $9.99 plus shipping. I did a little bit of math, just assuming there's only 50, and I know there are more than that. And they all sell for $9.99 plus shipping. Now some are a little less, but some are a little more. So if we average $9.99 across the board for 50 of them, take out our PayPal fees, take out our eBay fees, take out the purchase price, it came out to, it was just under, I believe, $385. So we're going to net right about $400 of profit once all of these sell. Now, admittedly, that's going to take a while, but it's not going to take that long to make up our $50 investment. If you look, I think I've already flashed up the 2 that we sold. Now, some of them I put up for auction. We might talk about auctioning in, whether that's a good idea or not. That's really personal preference, but I'm thinking in terms of, there's an app called What's It Worth. Really cool app on the phone, and you can look up there and find information about how well does this thing sell at Buy It Now, how well does it sell at auction, what is the average price that people get at auction versus Buy It Now, and you can kind of compare those. So I looked at some of these, and the potential was there to make more money if you bought it now, but I'm looking at this in terms of volume. I'm going to make my money on moving this stuff and hopefully moving it as quickly as I can, getting my investment back. And so I put some of these at auction. Now we've already got, over here you can see, we've got 2 of them now that have received bids, and a lot of them have quite a few watchers. Now that doesn't make these super valuable, it just means that they're ones that people want or that people like. So who knows? I mean, we've got a $7.99, we've got an $8.99, and I've got several other auctions running that I've got watchers on. So I think those are going to go. Now, if these auctions that we have up right now, just 1 or 2 more end up going, we've made up our money already. So everything else that comes in after that is profit. So that is the kind of deal that I like. Now, I talked about the fact that this was about being honest, right? If I was not honest with Chase from the jump, if I was just standing there looking at trains, what are you doing? Do you like trains? Oh yeah, I love trains. or I'm looking to get in, so I think some of these would be good for me starting a hobby. Whatever story you want to concoct, right? He's still going to try and charge you $3 or $4 per car, right? But he knows now when I'm honest with him and I tell him, look, here are all the obstacles that I have to face. I want to be fair to you, but I want to be fair to me as well, and this is where I'm comfortable at in business terms. That makes sense, right? People understand that, and he cut me a deal, a bulk deal. And that's when you get the best stuff, is through these bulk deals. And potentially he's a guy that is going to come back around and we're going to buy some more stuff from. So being honest is important, I think. And I do think, like I said, I do think you have to feel out the situation. I don't think it's right at every garage sale, but it can be particularly valuable when people have bulk product, or when you think you might come back around, there's a potential to make a relationship there, and they can provide you with more product, because then you can help each other. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. We can look at some of these cars. Let me flash the camera around, and we'll just we'll look at the boxes of some of these cars. Once again, I don't know what they're all worth. I don't even know how many I have, if I'm honest. I think we've listed about 24 now, and I've still got a ton left. So let's look at these cars real quick. Okay, so these are cars that I took photos of last night. Some of them are listed. I listed this guy. This guy's not listed yet. This guy, I mean, we've listed a lot of these. You can see there's a one, and a lot of these are kits, right? That's what this is. It's still not put together, which can increase the value. There's a Carnation Milk car. That's a reefer car. I've learned some of these things. Where the money is ideally in these is in the engine. And if you can find engines, they are worth money. Now this one is one that I haven't listed yet. I cannot find one of these. You can find almost any car. I've looked on Terapeak within the last year. I have not found this one. It is really cool. It's a kit. It's got all the pieces. And we've got Statue of Liberty. Now I have looked on Terapeak on just Statue of Liberty HO stuff, and it sells pretty well. There's really only a handful of it has come up. So I'm going to put this one at auction, and I'm going to put it at a fairly high starting bid, maybe 25 bucks, and we'll see what happens. I'll probably put it at a 10-day auction and start it on a Thursday night. That way it runs through 2 weekends. It'll run through the weekend and then finish on a Sunday. So that's something to think about if you want to run auctions. But yeah, this one could be one of the winners of the bunch. That is a really cool car. Even if you're not a train collector, that's going to check off some New York City type stuff. We got a caboose here. This one's pretty cool. What else we have? Okay, I turned it around and it was backwards. There's I think that's probably a 50-foot car. This one's kind of cool. This is an older one. I don't think it's particularly valuable. I don't know yet, but why it's probably not valuable is, unfortunately, this is a paper on the outside, and it at some point tore. So that is a bummer. This one is for restoration or just display, I guess, if they want to display it just on the one side. But I got to look into this one. There may be some value there, even though it's beat up on the side. But those certainly not the only ones that we have. Here is a whole nother box of these things. These are ones that I've listed actually already. So I've listed all of these, and these are photographed, either waiting to be listed, or some of them did get listed today. Okay, here's another box. How about this? We've got all sorts of stuff in here. We've got some loose. We've got some Burlington Northern, another Burlington, all sorts of stuff in here. There's Tyco. This is a truss bridge, it looks like, HO scale truss bridge. There's some more loose cars down here, some parts. Like I said, I don't know what's all in here. I didn't inspect all of these. We bought it in bulk. So this is one of those side cars. It'll tip and they'll spill over the side. I don't know if that's not attached yet or if it needs repair. Now these will still sell for parts or repair.
So just because something's broken, don't think that it isn't worth anything. Look it up. What do we got here? Virginia Trachea. So that's kind of cool. So we might have a somebody that just likes Virginia, right? They might be wanting to put that on their shelf. You never know. Here. So this is pretty cool. I haven't dug into this one yet. So yeah, that one's pretty cool. Flat card, and you've got a load on it. All sorts of stuff. Now there might be a winner. Yeah. Now the thing is, I'll have to figure out a way to test this. I don't have a track, right? But this is a locomotive, a Chattanooga. Let's see. Yep, it's a Tyco. That's not focusing at all. Sorry about that. It's a Tyco, which isn't fantastic, but it could be something, right? There is Oto canned fruits and vegetables. There's all sorts of advertising on these, and sometimes people want them for the advertisement. But you know what? These aren't even all that we have, because I have these too. All sorts of stuff in here, guys. This one is pretty cool. There's actually 3 of these Old Dutch cleansers. This one a longer car. I have to look. Maybe it's a 50-foot, and the other 2 are 40. Might lot those up together. I'm not sure. Yeah. See, here's another one of the Old Dutch, and there's the other. I have looked at this box a little bit, at least just to see some of the advertising cars. Let's see. What's this one? Armor refrigerator line. So, you know, it's a bacon car, right? Star ham and Star bacon. So there's all sorts of people that collect these things for all sorts of reasons. And so this is going to be really good.
Okay, so that's the train story. And that's once again, that's the reason to be honest, guys. At least in situations where it can be beneficial. So at least think about it. Don't always go in telling tall tales. Don't always go in scared to tell people what it is you're doing. People respect when you're honest with them. Now, sometimes it's going to blow up in your face, but sometimes it's going to really help. In this case, it really helped. I think there's more than 50 cars here, because some of these boxes, some of them are loose. Some of these boxes have multiple cars in them. So there could be 60 here, and we could be looking at somewhere around $500 profit off a $50 investment. So I will take that any day. It's going to take a little bit of work, and it's going to move slow, but you know what? Shipping these things are actually pretty easy, especially the ones that have a box. And the train people will buy these things up. Train folks buy stuff quickly. So you don't even have to promote it, because they're out there looking for it. I guess that's what I got for today, guys. Just wanted to pass along a couple of those notes. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not subscribed, please do so. I'd love to hit that 100 number. And then hopefully we don't lose any more people and go backwards. Let's hit 100 and let's go up above 100. That's what I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.